And we are now live.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Vermont State Senate Committee on Institutions. Today is March 10th, Thursday in the year 2022. We are in committee in person for the first time. Present, myself, Joe Benning, the chair of the committee, Senator Dick Mazza from Colchester Grand Isle, Senator Russ Ingalls from Essex Orleans, and Senator Dick McCormick from Windsor County. We will shortly be joined, we hope, by Senator Parent from Franklin County. We have only one topic this afternoon and only one witness this afternoon. But Michael, before I introduce you and we get underway, I'm just going to speak for a moment to our YouTube audience. We actually do have a YouTube audience. We have been very surprised by who shows up in that audience list. And as we are speaking about things, whenever a witness comes in to testify, I ask them to do two things. First is to introduce themselves and get a little bit of a background on who you are and how you fit into the government process. And secondly, be patient if I interrupt you along the way, because you may be speaking in terms that you and I are familiar with, but our YouTube audience may be totally unfamiliar with. And what I try to do is make sure that we are all on the same page as often as I can possibly make that happen. So, our guest this afternoon is Mike Bonus.
Yes, sorry, if I could explain something.
Sure.
People watching. I've recently suffered a retina detachment, and I'm under instruction to keep my face down 40 minutes out of every hour. I realize from my morning hearing, I look as though I'm asleep. I just want people to know I'm not sitting here sleeping. I'm supposed to be looking down like this.
So that's a difference from when you're normally.
From what I'm usually right.
All right. Our guest this afternoon from the Green Mountain Club is Mike Bonus, the executive director, who is going to talk to us about Long Trail Protection Update. The Long Trail is part and parcel of the Capitol Bill arrangement. And at some point in time, we'll probably have more conversation about this. Michael, just so if you haven't recalled, the Capitol Bill arises first in the House Committee on Corrections and Institutions. They have been dealing with it for the past couple of months and will be delivering it to us shortly. When it comes to us, we look at what they have done to the governor's recommend and either tweak what they've done or accept what they've done. And we may have some differences that we want to plug in, so it may all come back on two different occasions to talk about. But the upshot is, it may be that as we get the bill, you may have noticed something in there that is a change from what you were expecting. And if that should happen, just let us know and we will bring you back in for some more conversation. With that all said, Michael, the floor is yours and welcome back to Senate Institutions.
Well, thank you so much. Good afternoon again. My name is Mike DeBonis. I'm the executive director of the Green Mountain Club. Thank you, Chairman Benning and members of the committee, for inviting me to speak with you today. It's going to be easy today because I'm not going to ask you for any money. I'm going to thank you for all of your help. Give you an update.
25 years. I can't believe it. I go back to Bob Gannett days.
But I provided an overview of the Green Mountain Club and the Long Trail Protection Campaign in my report. But for those folks at home that are joining us on YouTube, the Green Mountain Club has been around since 1910, and it was formed in 1910 to make the mountains of Vermont play a larger role in the life of the people. And the best idea they had at that time was to build the Long Trail, a trail connecting Massachusetts to Canada across the crest of the Green Mountains. And they went about, volunteers went about and made that happen. The trail was completed in 1930, and it's been, by all accounts, a wonderful success. We have hundreds of thousands of people that use the Long Trail every year, from folks that are just getting out for the first time to folks that are going to hike the whole thing in one go, all 273 miles. It's an institution. It's part of the fabric of Vermont, and we have been fortunate to have a partnership with the General Assembly, the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation, private landowners, and partners to work on protecting land that hosts the Long Trail. So today I'd like to provide a a quick update on where we are in that process, and then tell you a little bit about what we're working on today. So the Long Trail Protection Campaign started in 1986. And in that time, working with the General Assembly and partners, we have protected over 88 miles of the Long Trail. We've conserved more than 25,000 acres of land that host the trail and adjacent to the trail, and over 17,500 acres have been added to the Vermont State Forest System. The General Assembly has contributed over $3.5 million in funding through the state's capital bill. And today I want to talk about a success from last year and what we're working on. The success is we're grateful to this committee, the House and the General Assembly for support of the FY22 Long Trail appropriation of $85,000. I'm happy to report that the Green Mountain Club purchased the 12.9 acre Judavine Brook Headwaters property in Johnson in 2021 with support from the General Assembly. And we're working with the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation to transfer the land to the state within this calendar year to become part of the Long Trail State Forest. This forested land hosts Long Trail Treadway and future location of an off-road trailhead parking area that's greatly needed in that area. The project is a success because the Green Mountain Club has been working to protect this portion of the Long Trail for 34 years. This 12.9 acre parcel is small, but it's an important piece of the land that makes up the Long Trail, and it closes a long-standing gap in the Long Trail in northern Vermont, and it brings us closer to our shared goal of permanently protecting the Long Trail system. While we don't have a Long Trail protection project that's ready to be presented to you all today for a capital appropriation this year, we continue to work with willing landowners. It takes a willing landowner to make the Long Trail protection work happen. We're working to protect the Long Trail, and there remains about 6 miles of Long Trail left to protect. That total acreage or that total mileage varies year by year as pieces of trail get relocated, but it's about 6 miles, and that's spread over about 14 different properties. And we communicate with these property owners every year and are ready to work with them if the opportunity presents itself. Conserving the remaining sections of the Long Trail is estimated to cost about $1.5 million. And the ongoing support of the Vermont General Assembly directly through the Capital Bill and through funding for the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board is critical. It's critical to the goal of permanently protecting public access to the entire Long Trail. I just wanted to be here today to provide you with an update, and thank you so much for your support, and let you know that we're still working toward the goal. So thank you so much.
Committee, any questions, comments? Senator Mazza?
Yes, when I started here 35 years ago, that Senator Gannett was chair, and that he got me hooked on that. We have over the years, I don't think we've missed a year, probably a few. Like, how much was it? 3 million we've given?
3.5.
3.5 million. And I always hoped I'd be here long enough to get it all completely bought, but I guess not. Huh? It's going to be how many more miles you got or areas?
It's about 6 miles over 14 properties. These last ones they're the hardest to get, and we just have to do good planning and be good communicators and be ready when the opportunity presents itself. And we have to wait for the landowners to be in a position to sell. But we're going to get it done. I just don't know how long it's going to take.
Well, that'll be an exciting day. I know we named a bridge after Senator Gannett. Remember that? The bridge of the ribbon cutting on that. Him and his wife were very instrumental in the Long Trail, and got us all hooked on it. Just carried on. But yeah, I hope it's completed. But it's expensive, I guess, to buy some pieces now. Huh?
It is. Yeah, the prices are variable, and it's also, you never know what's going on in people's lives right now. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of challenges, and so people are gonna have to look out for themselves, and so we just have to be patient and and be ready when. the
How
time is-
wide of a path do you buy when you buy it? I never asked that question before. You buy an acreage or you buy a strip?
Yeah, it can be both. In this particular case, we bought the acreage for the Judeline Headwaters property. Once that land's transferred to the state, the club will retain a conservation easement or a trail easement over the treadway. So it's a little distance on either side of the footpath. And that's the typical way that we do it. In some areas, depending on the landowner and the type of easement, that buffer on either side of the trail can be bigger or smaller. But the main goal is to at least protect that footpath where people are walking. So will be there forever.
You got any land, do you have to buy up the St. Johnbury area or Newport? We have a gentleman there. He's the best up there.
Let me
so-
know.
Yeah, 'cause he can negotiate with anybody. up
I'll
there,
go,
so-
I'll go twist arms for you.
We'll take all the help we can get.
Senator McCormick.
I just want to thank the Green Mountain Club for your good work. I never did an end to end, and now I've got arthritis, so I guess I never will. But I have hiked every inch of the Long Trail in different segments. Although the trail I hiked never existed at one time, because there are segments that were dropped and segments that were added. The path moves from side to side. But at one time or another, I've done the whole thing. I actually knew Riley Bostwick, who was one of the guys who blazed the trail in the 20s. And got pictures of my father at about 11 years old with the gear they carried in those days. I can't imagine how they did it.
Yeah, Senator, I think we have it easy now. The gear is so good. It's so light
Yeah.
compared to what those early pioneers were using. And it's interesting, you talk about family and Senator Mazza talked about the Gannett's, and with the Gannett family, there's multiple generations now that have a connection to the Long Trail. Multiple generations have hiked it, and they all have their end-to-end journals. And the trail's been around long enough that there's a multi-generational impact and connection to it. And it's just an amazing thing how people can have a similar experience over many different years. And it's just a unique thing that we have here in Vermont with these recreation resources that folks can experience them in just different ways. So it's just really neat to hear those stories.
It's a way of life. For some people, it becomes a way of life.
Yes, sir.
So I don't remember whether I told this story or not, but I got my first 3 miles in on the trail. My son was hiking end to end, and we were making periodic stops along the way for him to refill his backpack and all that. And I went to pick him up in Johnson with my wife. And usually what would happen when we got to the trailhead, if he wasn't there, I would walk towards him so that we'd meet on the trail and walk back together. Got to Johnson, and the location where he drove me to was a small parking area that we stopped in, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. My wife wanted to stay in the car, so I said, okay. I got my cell phone, you got your cell phone, and off I walked to find my son. About 1.5 miles later, as the sun was setting, I had not run into him yet, and I was really freaking out. And I tried calling my wife, and of course there's no cell phone coverage there. And I knew either I was going to get yelled at by her or yelled at by him, or he was out there injured somewhere, and all those things are going through my mind. But then had to turn around and walk all the way back. By the time I got back, it was dark. I didn't know this, but the parking lot that he was actually at was about 100 yards away from where we had. So all you can do to identify those parking areas, we're all in favor of that.
Yeah, you had a very classic Long Trail experience there, Senator, that's for sure.
It's scary when it gets dark.
When it's dark, it's really scary.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful spot. I have to say that. I don't remember the name of the farm that it went up through. I wish I did. But that whole area was really beautiful. I hope that you can preserve that for a very long time.
Yes, sir.
Well, speaking of sons, my son Noah, who is 50 years old now, when he was about 11, living in a small town, Bethel, he had 2 collections of kids to choose friends from. One were the goody two shoes and the others were the bad boys. And he found the bad boys more interesting than the goody two shoes. And he was about 11 or 12, really getting to be a little bit of a problem. And I took him on a hike and he met Appalachian Trail through hikers. And suddenly he sees these guys who are spectacularly athletic and slightly mad. There was a guy who had dumped his girlfriend because she wouldn't eat moldy bread. He thought that was really cool. And it created another model for him. And he has lived his life as a fairly spectacular outdoorsman. Yeah, older now, but at the time climbing up 1,000-foot cliffs on ropes, extreme skiing. He was in Warren Miller type ski films, and his whole life has been as an outdoorsman. And it started on that hike. He tells that story. There was this other model.
Good. Yeah. All right, Michael, I guess we'll call it there and look forward to seeing you again. Maybe someday out on the trail.
Well, thank you so much, Senator, and thank you, members of the committee, for your time and really everything that you're doing for the state of Vermont, and particularly for the Long Trail and outdoor recreation. There's a lot of worthy causes out there. We really appreciate all the time and effort you put in. So thank you.
Take care. Alex, you can take us off YouTube. That'll